Easily one of the weakest exotics in Destiny 1, the Hunter exotic helmet, the Knucklehead Radar, has made a return in Destiny 2. To assume that the D2 Knucklehead would be just as average as the D1 version is unfair, since we have an entire new collection of weapons, armor, and gameplay mechanics to work with. Just for reference, the D1 Knucklehead provided a visible radar while aiming down sights with primary weapons. Not a terrible bonus at all, at least not in PvP, but many guns in D1 could already roll with the third eye perk, which granted the same feature. To make matters worse for the Knucklehead, the Memory of GHELEON artifact introduced in Rise of Iron completely outclassed the Knucklehead, considering it was only a legendary, offered more than the Knucklehead, and was an artifact nonetheless. So it's pretty clear that the Knucklehead was quite underwhelming in D1, and quite exchangeable since many weapons in an artifact provided the same benefit. In Destiny 2, artifacts are gone, and with the weapons having fixed perk rolls, the third eye perk is far less common, outside of Midas that is. So given nearly all of the competition for the Knucklehead has been removed, let's see just how decent the exotic is within a fair playing field. The exotic perk on the D2 Knucklehead grants an active radar while aiming all weapons, which is a direct upgrade from the D1 version, since the D1 version only worked on primaries. Getting an active radar while aiming is definitely pointing towards a Crucible build, since there wouldn't be many situations in PvE where you would want to be aiming down sights for extended amounts of time. Still, the Knucklehead is usable in PvE, so let's consider a build. Just firstly, I would suggest going for a resilience mod on the Knucklehead. Since it's subclass neutral, it doesn't really require a Paragon mod, and hunters need all the help they can get with resilience and recovery. As far as subclasses go, there is no real ties to any element, so it will ultimately come down to preference. I typically run my Gunslinger with the Knucklehead in the Crucible, mostly because I feel other subclasses benefit more from other exotics, such as the Lucky Raspberry for the Arcstrider, or the Orpheus Rig for the Night Stalker. So assuming we'll go with the Gunslinger, even though it's just as viable with the other subclasses, where would we use this? Well, I've already kind of pointed out that it's not a PvE exotic. Having an active radar while aiming is never a bad thing to have, but when you're dedicating an exotic to it, you're really starting to hinder your potential. I personally can't think of a time in PvE where I was aiming a sightline for a long time and really wanted to take a quick glance at my radar to see if I was getting rushed or something. And even if I wanted to take a look at my radar, I'd just stop aiming my weapon. As far as PvE goes, Night Stalkers should probably look towards the Orpheus Rigs, Arcstriders towards the Raiden Flux, and Gunslingers towards either Nighthawk or Foe Tracer. Now for the place where the Knucklehead really shines. The argument I made earlier for Knucklehead in PvE is also true in PvP. If you really want to look at your radar, just stop aiming your weapon for a second. The difference is, PvP is against other Guardians, where milliseconds start to matter in your encounters. Having your weapon already aiming and being able to get the opening shot on someone can swing a firefight your way. Getting the jump or just being aware of your surroundings is incredibly valuable in the Crucible, which is why I make the Knucklehead my go-to hunter exotic for PvP. If you've played any Crucible over the last month, I'm sure you've run into plenty of modern multi-tools, which makes sense for several reasons. Not only because it's a decent scout archetype with high caliber rounds and bonus mobility, but it too has the active radar while aiming perk. Running Midas with a Knucklehead is a bit redundant, but for Titans and Warlocks, Midas is the closest thing you're going to get to having your own Knucklehead. Ultimately though, if you're a hunter who likes to use the Midas, I would recommend going with something like the Foe Tracer, just so you're not overlapping any of your perks. Anyway, what do you guys think of the Knucklehead Radar? Do you think it deserves a spot in the current PvP meta? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching guys.